In today's digital-first society, the way businesses are communicating with consumers is changing. According to my friends over at Forbes, 90% of all social media users in today's market follow at least one brand or organization on social media. This, my friends, is a powerful illustration of the change in consumer behavior towards a more direct and engaged relationships with the people and brands they put their monies with. It's a strong illustration of the importance of a brand's social media presence in order to build brand identity. And for business professionals, LinkedIn is quickly becoming one of the top platforms in order to engage with a targeted audience. According to the platform, there are more than 15 million entrepreneurs in the United States and the United Kingdom who use the platform to engage in business and building relationships each and every day. That's good news for my friend Jordan Mendoza. He's the founder and CEO of Blaze Your Own Trail Consulting, where he helps service providers grow their businesses through strategic marketing, sales, and leadership consulting. He knows a thing or two about how to grow an audience on LinkedIn specifically and social media as a whole. In April of 2019, Mendoza began consistently creating and posting content on LinkedIn specifically, and he noticed the power of organic reach. By December of that same year, he had over 20,000 followers on LinkedIn using the same program that he teaches his clients now in 6 weeks so that they can do the same. His content has reached over 7 million views, and his followers consistently gain great sales leadership content and value on how they can grow their social media platforms to optimize their ability to make revenue consistently. If you're a business of any type who uses social media to engage an audience, my friends, this is a conversation that you can't afford to miss because Mendoza provides some great tips and tricks that anyone can use to optimize their presence on social media and beyond. So without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Jordan, if you're ready, my friend, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to learn how to help service-based businesses level up, my friend. Great to see you, and happy, what's today? Happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Same to you.
Absolutely. Now, my friend, I know that you are the founder of Blaze Your Trail Consulting, where you help service-based businesses level up how they communicate, my friend. So I'm wondering if you can tell me all about the good work that you do and what makes you so fabulous.
Yeah, so what I do is I help business owners that get stuck. I think as entrepreneurs, there's always something that needs to be learned, whether it's a system, a process, a tactic, a technique. And so what I really do is help people where they're at. So I work with people from all around the world. Some of them are brand new, brand spanking new. They have a corporate job and they're trying to build, this business as a side hustle. So that could be a client that I serve. I have some folks that are seasoned business owners. They've been doing it for a decade or 2 decades, but they still, with how fast information changes in 2024, there's still things that they're missing. There's still gaps in their business. And, spending 15 years in corporate America and 8 years of that in training and development, I learned so many different skills that honestly, Kevin, I didn't think I'd be using when I stepped out into entrepreneurship, but they're actually ended up paying dividends because a lot of folks don't have the information. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan, you brought up something interesting that I want to circle back to. You talking about how helping businesses become unstuck, and I'm curious to ask you, how do you help, how do you believe that we can help businesses sort of overcome the mental hurdle that comes along with running a business, getting excited about the minutiae of running a business, or some of the not so sexy things. So, how do you think we can help businesses become unstuck, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's really as simple as helping them build systems and processes that take things off of their plate because naturally especially as a new business owner, you're juggling a lot of things. You are sales, you are marketing, you are leadership, you have a million different hats that you have to wear, plus you have to deliver on the service for the client, plus there's a lot of pluses, right? And so if you can have certain systems and processes dialed in that actually give you some of your time back, that actually relieves a lot of stress because I know that my follow-up email went out. I know that my systems, before anyone makes it to me, I know that they're pre-qualified to be a potential client. So there's just a lot of things that I help integrate into people's business that they just maybe haven't thought about or didn't know that they could get set up, that really relieves a lot of time and energy off their plate. And it also inherently brings the right customers to them based on the pre-qualification that's set up.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan, you also mentioned that you spent some time in training and development, my friend. And I talk to businesses all the time about the importance of promoting inclusivity in business because I was born with cerebral palsy, so I go around traveling the country talking to businesses about the importance of inclusivity. So tell me, from a training and development standpoint, when people look outside the box and hire folks with disabilities or differing abilities, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the competitive advantage that they can bring to a business.
Well, I think anybody that has talent, I mean, talent can be in any person, regardless of what they've are born with or what they've done. I mean, there's people have natural talent. Like you have a natural gift, Kevin, of communication, and you have a natural gift of making people feel like they've known you forever. I feel like we've been buddies for a long time, right? That comes natural. Does that make sense? And so I think you hire based on people's abilities, their natural abilities, right? That's what we should be hiring off of. We really shouldn't be focused on any other area because again, we're all human. We're all the same in my eyes. We're all people. We all breathe the same air. We all drink the same water, if that makes sense. And so when it comes to training and development, I didn't have any colleagues, I guess, that would fit what you were explaining. But when I would go to events, we were fortunate to be in the training top 125 for several years consecutively, which is the top 125 training companies globally. And I did see folks that some may say they had a disability, but in my eyes, they had great ability. They were winning awards, and they were on the dance floor and basically enjoying themselves, if that makes sense. So I haven't ran into any inclusivity issues. There's definitely been some definitely inclusion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Jordan, what do you think it means to blaze your own trail in life? What do you think that means to you, my friend?
What it means to me is it means to, block out the naysayers. You're going to have a lot of critics. You're going to have a lot of people that say that you can't do things, and I experienced that multiple times, as a kid, whether that was my freshman math teacher that found me and my buddy we were skipping class at the vending machines and getting some gummy bears, and she brought the whole class down and said, you're never going to amount to anything. You got to take that and leverage it as fuel, kind of leverage it as fuel to say, you know what, I am going to be something. And, one interaction or one moment in time when I was a kid that was hungry, skipping class does not equate to what my future is going to look like. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan, I'm curious to get your perspective on the importance of sales leaders being receptive to coaching, and what qualities do you think a sales leader must have in order to drive significant growth? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I've actually had the fortunate ability to be coaching sales leaders since I was 18 years old. I started in sales at 14, and I think a good sales leader motivates their team. They inspire them, they rally them, they get them hyped up before they're gonna, go out to do any type of sales activity. I think it's important to get motivated, to get in the right mindset. And I also think it's important that they are practitioners, meaning if I have a brand new salesperson, they're right by my side and I'm taking them out, whether that's sitting next to them because they're on a phone call or whether that's actually bringing them out into the field to meet a business owner or a potential client. I want to lead by example. I think that's also a good sales leader is you lead by example by showing them how it's done, and then letting them be able to put their own spin on it and use their own personality.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And I know that a big part of your business is using LinkedIn to drive followers and content, my friend. And I know that you started in April of 2019, and by December you had over 20,000 followers on the platform. And now you teach others to do the same in the 12-week program you offer, my friend. So I'm wondering if you can tell me more about the power of LinkedIn, my friend, and how it changed your business journey.
Yeah, LinkedIn has been truly a game changer for my business, and it's resulted in definitely lots of clients, lots of friends, lots of partnerships, and even equity in a couple different companies have come and been added to my business as a result of LinkedIn. So, from an opportunity standpoint, with now 1 billion active users, I would say there's no better time than ever to get on the platform. And what I would say as far as how it can change the game for a business owner, if your profile is optimized, meaning it's dialed in from top to bottom, if you've got a consistent content strategy, if you are being intentional about engaging and growing the audience with your ideal clients and with people maybe you want to partner with or people that resonate, and then you're also have a game plan to follow up and take the online offline. LinkedIn can be a massive value add from a lead generation aspect. And the way that you're doing it, your content isn't salesy. It's truly trying to give tips, add value to people. And so those people get more interested in you and do more research in their due diligence. And if your profile is set up correctly, your profile in itself becomes the funnel that you need as long as you're pointing people exactly where you want them to go. So LinkedIn, as long as it's done right, and if as long as you have the right systems and processes that in place, it can be a very fruitful and lucrative place.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's dive into that program, buddy. What are some of the highlights that you use to help your clients through that 12-week program, bud? Tell me more.
Yeah, so one of the things that's really shifted with the program is now we've really accelerated it. We kind of noticed that we don't really need 12 weeks. We can really get it done in 6. So now it's actually a 6-week program, and in 6 weeks we are going to take each person from optimization to monetization and everything in between. So what we mean by that is we're going to help you hold your hand in optimizing your profile from top to bottom, including a done for you banner image that's really optimized. Okay. We work with you and coach you on your headline text, on your about summary, make sure all the right features are turned on and turned off. And then once your profile's dialed in, we work with you on what the content strategy should look like, what you should post, what you shouldn't post, what's going to create engagement, what's going to build curiosity, what type of call to actions, really giving the strategy that I've been leveraging, since 2019 to build now, over 60,000 followers and 18,000 newsletter subscribers. And so I want to show you the roadmap, essentially, Kevin, that you can follow to have similar results, like my client Will, who now has over 30,000 followers and had 7 when he took the program, about a year ago. So it's really cool to see other people having success by following the framework and the systems and the roadmap. Because honestly, a lot of people want to skip ahead. They see the results or they see the audience and they say, I just want to get there tomorrow. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. You have to put in the reps. You gotta start from the foundation, which is dialed in, and then we sequentially go in order until we get to the point where we show you how you can consistently and repetitively bring in your ideal clients from the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Jordan, let's talk specifically about generating leads on LinkedIn. Buddy, I'm on LinkedIn all the time because I'm a professional speaker, and it's one of the driving forces that gets me speaking engagements, my friend. So tell me, what do you think is the ultimate secret sauce to getting leads and generating interest on LinkedIn, my friend?
Yeah, so from a lead standpoint, is you want to make it easy for people to get to you. Okay, and a lot of people aren't telling people where they want them to go. So, for example, like in your headline text, which is that text that's right under your name, most people will have a bunch of keywords, or they'll have their workplace name or their university. But I always tell everyone I work with that you want to leverage by starting with a service statement first. So this service statement tells people exactly who you are, what you do, and how you do it. And that's super important to have that dialed in. And then also, you can have the keywords that you want in your profile, which is great, but you also want to have a call to action. So what do you want people to do that landed on your profile? What do you want them to do next? And so for my audience, I point them down to my newsletter, which is in my featured section, okay? Because that's where I want to drive traffic. I want people to read some additions, get to know me. Maybe then they'll connect. Does that make sense? And so you have to understand what your goals are, and then you have to point people to where that place is.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes total sense, my friend. And I'm curious, would you think of the word empowerment and social media, my friend? How do you think those two things are interconnected? And how do you think we can leverage the power of social media to maximize reach, my friend?
Yeah, so the best performing content that I've ever produced has always been personal stories. It's overcoming adversity. It's, being beaten and falsely arrested when I was 12 by police. It's talking about, having my wife having a miscarriage, before we had our first child, and now we're working on number 6. And so it's talking about things that other people can relate with. People can see themselves into some of these stories and some of these circumstances. And the message that I always want people to understand is that you can blaze your own trail despite your circumstances. You can do hard things. You can push through. Adversity, I'm a big believer, it gives us strength, and it enables us to see through a new lens, a lens that we couldn't see before, and some people will never be able to see through that lens that we've experienced.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. And quickly, I'll share my own story of overcoming adversity, my friend, because, I believe adversity or resilience is the answer to the test of adversity. Once adversity strikes, my friend. So I um, actually told this story yesterday because I was delivering a keynote address to a bunch of people who work in inclusive employment for people with developmental disabilities in Oklahoma. And I told them the story of when I was 9 years old, buddy. I was told by a doctor that I would never be able to walk for the duration of my life because of the severity of my CP, my friend. So I was born with cerebral palsy, and I told them that everyone's portrait of success is different. So in the spirit of sharing, I just wanted to share my own story of resilience, my friend. And now I get paid to go around and talk about myself and inclusion. So it's pretty cool, right?
Absolutely. No, it's amazing, and kudos to you for not giving up, right? That's what it's all about. You take it one day at a time, and you, like you said, you have that perseverance and the resilience, and you fight another day. And so I appreciate you sharing that, and I know that's gonna, help a lot of people.
Absolutely. No, my friend, I wanted to ask you about. We talk about an organic, growing an organic audience on social media. You've given me so many great tips, but for anyone watching or listening to this today, I'm curious to ask you about what do you think are the top three things anyone can do, whether they want to grow an organic audience on social media, LinkedIn, or otherwise. What do you think the key is there, my friend?
Yeah, I'll give you I'll give you 5 steps. How about that? I'll give you a couple additional ones here. So the first thing you want to do, and again, it doesn't matter what platform, like Kevin said, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all of them, you got to make sure your profile on that platform is optimized. Okay, so what do we mean? Well, you got to have a good banner image or cover photo, channel art, whatever the platform calls that, piece of real estate that you get. That's got to be dialed in. It's got to talk about what you do. It's got to have a call to action there. You got to make sure your bio has your website in there, because you want people to go to your website or your landing page or whatever that is. Okay, so make sure that profile is optimized. Then you have to have a content strategy. So you have to have a strategy of, okay, how am I going to show up consistently, meaning, once a day on these platforms. And one hint and pro tip, a lot of these platforms have scheduling tools. So you can actually, if you say, hey, I don't have time, well, you probably have an hour where you can sit down and build out your content for 5 or 10 days, and then you can go ahead and plug it in the system, and then you've got it scheduled, if that makes sense. So that's what I would do as well, is make sure you have a consistent strategy. So that's tip 2. Tip 3 is don't forget about your audience. So make sure you're engaging with your audience. If somebody comments on something that you post, tell them thank you or say, hey, appreciate that. So make sure you're engaging with your audience. Okay. The next thing, be intentional about growing your audience. Okay. How do you grow it? Well, you also have to be intentional, meaning look for people that maybe have a similar mindset, or someone that could be your ideal client, and send them a friend request, a connection request, subscribe to their channel, whatever it is, to show that you're interested. Okay. So once you've done that, the next step I would say is try to take the online offline. So if you've connected with a person, reach out and say, hey, I'd love to jump on a virtual coffee. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to, get to see how we can collaborate or partner. Okay. And then the final one is rinse and repeat. If you implement this strategy on a consistent basis, you will see that your audience will grow, your visibility will grow, the amount of people you talk to on a consistent basis will grow. And that's kind of the 5 things that I would do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan, I'm a huge believer in the power of authenticity and proof of concept and adding value. As a speaker, we talk all the time about adding value and serving an audience, my friend. So, what do you think is the? Do you think that's the key to also creating great content, which you can monetize? Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, I would say, you should definitely add more value than you take, right? So, I always tell people to leverage that, 80% 80/20 approach, meaning 80% of the content that should be value based, and then 20% could have some type of ask. So maybe subscribe to my newsletter. Hey, I've got a few spots left open for this program, or hey, listen to this podcast episode. So that's kind of what that 20% should be. The other 80 should be educating. And I know there's so much gatekeeping that I see go on, Kevin. So what I do is I give my best tips, because the truth is there's a lot of people that are watchers, but they're not action takers. Okay, so the people that I'm trying to truly reach are those action takers, are the people that are going to see it, they're going to hear it, then they're going to do something about it. Okay, because if you're not taking action, folks, then you're not going to create any momentum. And if you don't create momentum, you cannot create consistency. And without consistency, you can't build habits. And without habits, Kevin, there's no way you're going to get results. Does that make sense? And so that's kind of another framework, just a little bonus framework for everybody. You have to take action in order to create that momentum, and that's going to have that ball moving down the field.
Yeah, and Jordan, you've talked extensively about a LinkedIn newsletter, my friend, and I know that a heartbeat for you. So tell me about your individual newsletter, my friend, and the benefits of launching a newsletter on LinkedIn. What are your thoughts there, buddy?
Yeah, so my newsletter, it's called Trailblazing Tips. It's actually now being published every single week. So definitely check it out. The benefits of having a newsletter is, it's long form content to a massive audience, which creates a lot more visibility. And what's very interesting about newsletters on LinkedIn, as opposed to just sending out a newsletter to your email list, is LinkedIn actually does two things for you. So it does send it to each subscriber's inbox, which is great on their email, but it also sends it to their inbox on LinkedIn. So you essentially get to double dip with your audience to make sure that they see this newsletter. And the other thing that's great is all the links that you put in. If you have call to actions, if you're trying to give people free resources or send them to a particular website, all of those links are actually in the email as well, and they're clickable. And so it gives you, again, two opportunities. And so when I publish a newsletter, it goes out to 18,000 people's email and 18,000 people's inbox. Plus, you get the organic post of, hey, there's a new edition that's published. And so you get to pick up more subscribers each time that you publish an edition. So from a value standpoint, I would say it's very high. And I've already been able to monetize the newsletter through different call to actions, but also through sponsors that have said, hey, I'd love to get in front of 18,000 people. How can I, sponsor one of your editions? And so that turned into another revenue stream, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And we talked earlier about adding systems during a sales process, my friend. And sales doesn't have to be a daunting experience if you know a consistent way to sell. And we talked about systems, but I'm also wondering your thoughts on generally what does it mean to add value when you're trying to sell something? What does that mean to you, buddy?
For me, it's giving some very tangible information, like, hey, I see if you did this and this, it could help you here. Like, do what you want with it. Does that make sense? So it's giving something to somebody without expecting anything in return. That's what adding value is. And it's coming from a place of, servant leadership. Like, hey, I see that if you fix this, like, this would truly help. So take that and run with it, and so that's what it really is to me.
Yeah, and tell me what do you think if I gave you, say, $100,000 to design a course on a consistent way to sell on social media or through social channels, my friend, how would you spend the money? I'm fascinated.
I've already built a course on that very thing. So I would say, wow, that's amazing that you paid me 100,000 for a course. Here it is. It's already done. So no, what I would do is really a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about. So hey, you got to start with the foundations. That would be in the course because again, whether it's 100,000, a million, or 200 bucks, I'm starting with the foundations, and I hope that people see the pattern there is you have to get back to the basics. You have to start with the foundations and the structure first. So that's where I would start. And then, similarly to what I teach on LinkedIn, I would go into the content strategy. And part of that would actually be determining what the person's pillars are and how to do that. Okay. Because understanding what your content pillars are, meaning what are the kind of the three things that you stand on that you want to deliver on through your content, that's going to be super important. So there'd be definitely a module on that. And then there would be a module on, how to actually grow your audience strategically. There'd be a module on engagement. There'd be a module on how to actually leverage the DMs effectively and how to leverage automations, all the features of the platforms. And so it would be very, very in depth, and it would be very sequential in the fact that once people got from A to Z, they would have all the systems and process to be able to fish on their own, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Jordan, the last question I have for you in terms of the social media aspect of it, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of personal questions before I get you out of here. But the last question I have for you, buddy, is LinkedIn says that Americans and their attention span is no longer than 7 to 8 seconds, my friend. So, what do you think is the key to really retaining and grabbing the attention of an audience on social media? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so what I tell all my coaching students and clients is you have to be consistently testing because things, you said it, Kevin, things are changing so much. There's so many different ways. You've got carousel posts, you've got static posts, you got all the videos with all the captions and the editing, and so you're it's almost like the wild wild west in the sense that you're trying to constantly see what's working. And so what I would say is if you're not doing that, start that, because if you're putting out the same stuff and getting the same results and nothing's changing, then you might as well test some stuff. You might as well put some stuff out and see what works, because things, again, the platform's algorithm could shift, and that could mean that, hey, we're no longer favoring short form. Now we're favoring long form. That's something that recently happened on TikTok. So now they want to see videos that are a minute longer, right? So again, things are constantly changing, and if you're not consistently changing as well, then you're going to fall behind.
Always know your audience, right? Absolutely. And Jordan, I'm curious because you said something that sparked my interest. So, what are the things that I have found success with on social media is bragging about my own story and showing, demonstrating to people how it can add value to their business or their organization, my friend. So, how important is it to be humanized on social media? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I have a buddy, actually. His name is Alon Zybert, and he coined the term emotional relevance. And that's what it does. It creates emotional relevance when we can find ourselves kind of tied or see ourselves in somebody on an emotional level because they shared their story, because of something that they said. It actually makes business a lot easier. Does that make sense? And I've
Mm-hmm.
actually had people read my LinkedIn profile, which talks about, my mom, and it talks about some pivotal moments in my life. And I've had a lot of people message me and say, I actually wanted to connect because you had the audacity to share that, on LinkedIn of all places, if that makes sense. And so I think people are seeing more and more the importance of being authentic, being vulnerable, and are more open to doing it. And that's something that I also teach my clients and this will be some more additional value for everyone, is when you're writing your about summary, remember that it's about you. It's not about, your college degree. It's not about all that stuff. And so you want to write it truly from a storytelling perspective. So it starts with a hook. It gets people engaged, and then you go into, the story, and then there should be a pivot, right? A pivotal moment that happens. And then you can talk about accolades and expertise and have a call to action after that. But when you can truly connect with somebody, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, where it's typically all kind of super stuffy and all about business, when you can connect on a more personal level, it actually does wonders, and it collapses the timeline between you and connecting with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan, you're the perfect person to ask this question with five kids and one on the way, my friend. So tell me, what qualities do you think makes an all-star dad, my friend? And what's the best part about being a dad, bud?
Oh man, the best part about being a dad is I've actually been a dad now for almost 20 years, which is crazy. It's crazy to think. And so the best part about being a dad is the fact that, I have little friends I can play with. I get to teach them stuff. I get to see them through the highs. I get to see them through the lows. And really for me, it's just being available for them, spending time with them, helping them through hard stuff. And again, it's just, I'm a very like competitive guy. I love sports, so being able to kind of teach them things that I know. I've been breakdancing since the mid 90s, and so I have my 3-year-old Braylon, who I've been teaching breakdancing. I've got the 7-year-old, my 19-year-old son, and my daughters aren't very interested, but the younger kids are, and so that's a lot of fun, right? I can teach them things that I like to do, see what they enjoy doing. But it's crazy to think that all 5 of them have different personalities. Of course they do, right? So you're dealing with all of that, and then I'm dealing with from 3 years old up to 19. So there's you have college, you have high school, you have middle school, you have elementary, you have preschool, and then one on the way, right? So I don't know if we've lost our mind or if we've found it. So that's still kind of the out to figure out, but it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And you shared the story of the journey when you had your first kid or you were pregnant with your first kid. And I'm curious, what did you learn about yourself individually and collectively and your ability to really persevere through hard times? What did you learn about yourself, bud?
Well, I mean, in that instance, because there was plenty of hard times before, my wife had a miscarriage, but one thing that everyone needs to know is, she actually wasn't supposed to be able to have kids at all. She had some terrible things happen when she was younger, and the doctors basically said there's too much damage, like you're not going to be able to have kids. So her getting pregnant was a surprise to both of us, and we were, it was one of those things where I was like, wait a second, you're not supposed to have kids, like what's going on here? And then we're getting excited to be these new parents, and then she wasn't feeling well, went to the doctor, had the miscarriage. And so there was all these different emotions that were happening. And at the end of the day, for us, we just said, you know what, we're gonna give this to God. We're gonna pray about this, and if this was meant to be and this happens again, then we're gonna be excited and grateful. And then of course our son was born that next December, and we've had 5 total and one on the way. So it's been a amazing journey, and I would say that whenever you're going through hard things, it's important to surround yourself with people that speak into your life, that are there to support you. And luckily we had each other, and we could see each other through that tough time.
Yeah, absolutely. I always said, Jordan, that everything happens in life for a reason, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely, my friend. And my final question for you this morning, my friend, has to do with your own individual and personal legacy, my friend. I'm a big believer in the power of self-reflection. So when you reflect on your life, bud, how do you want it to be defined?
Yeah, so one of my mentors from afar, and he's somebody I had on the show. He said something to me that's really resonated, and I've kind of adopted it since he said it. But what he said, and his name is David Meltzer. What he said was that I want to plant seeds for trees that I'm never going to sit under. and that's something that really resonated with me. And so that's the similar impact that I want to have. Is I want to build things, create things, do things that will impact people far after I'm gone. And so one of those kind of BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, for those of you that don't know the acronym, one of those for me is I'm going to be launching Blazing Hearts Charity, and it's going to be a nonprofit, a way that we can give back to our local community here in Gwinnett County, Georgia, and be able to serve and just kind of have a philanthropic arm to the business that's on brand and on mission at the same time. So that's something that I want to be able to have to leave legacy and show our kids that, hey, you can start a nonprofit if you want. You know, you can have a business, you can have a nonprofit. You know, you can really do whatever you want as long as you're willing to step up to the plate, and as long as you're willing to know that there are going to be hard times and it's okay, that you can get past them. You just got to be willing to continue to blaze a trail, and you're going to have success.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Jordan, tell me if people want to get connected with you or blaze your own trail, my friend, what's the most effective way they can do that?
Yeah, I would say that the easiest place to find me, and you could even learn more about some of the stuff I talk about, would be my podcast. So my podcast is byotpod.com. If you just head over to the podcast, you can learn more about me through that content. All my socials are connected there. More information about group coaching that I do each week is there. So all the information's there. It makes it super easy.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. And before I say goodbye to you, I have to say thank you as well, my friend, because, 4 years ago, my friend, I started this endeavor, and you have the distinction, my friend, of being my 900th conversation for the endeavor. So I want to thank you for helping me celebrate the milestone and for engaging in conversation. It's most appreciated.
Of course. And Kevin, I want to just say to you, keep up the great work. You do an amazing job. You clearly did your research. So I just want to publicly congratulate you on episode 900. That's a incredible feat. Keep up the good work, and you keep blazing your own trail.